And welcome back to RealAg Radio. It's time for this week's edition of Rocky Talk, brought to you every Wednesday at this time by Rocky Mountain Equipment. Harvest is rolling, or soon will be, across the prairies, and so we're talking about combine settings, combine optimization as part of this week's Rocky Talk. And joining us on the phone, we're pleased to welcome Chad Moskal. Chad is the manager of AOS for Rocky Mountain. How are things going today, Chad?
I'm fine. How about you?
Doing well here too, and of course, harvest is rolling here in the southern part of the prairies, and so we're talking about how to really get the most out of our combines. Where do we begin?
So I think one of the things that the optimization or the AOS group at Rocky does is we make sure that every combine is optimized, and it's one of the things that we've been doing for a couple of years now, and we make sure. When you purchase your combine, we want to make sure that everything in that combine is working up to spec. So if there's been changes in the technology, if there's been changes in options on the newer combines, we'll go through that with the customer and we'll make sure that they're comfortable. As long as they're comfortable with the technology, we know that we're going to get the best out of that equipment. So we may have customers that are brand new to Case IH combines, or New Holland combines, or we may have customers that have had those combines for 10, 15 years. But there's always something new that comes out every year, and there's always software that needs to be updated, things like that. And we go through that before the customer ever sees the combine. We'll also take the time to optimize on the farmer's yard that piece of equipment. So we'll sit in the combine with them. We'll go over all the settings that we've changed. We'll go over what we believe are good settings for each crop condition. And then we'll also calibrate, make sure everything's calibrated. So the moisture sensors are calibrated, the speed sensors are calibrated, the yield sensors are calibrated. So that when you go into the field, everything is 100% perfect and you can be confident in your equipment.
So what's left to do then when you're in the field in terms of setting changes, of course, adjusting for crop type, field type, conditions, all those variables that we face during the harvest season?
Absolutely. I think every crop needs a little bit of different touch as far as settings go. So we'll speak to our customers about fan speeds or sieve settings or rotor speeds, feeder speeds, all that different types of thing. We also make sure that that they know the importance of calibrating their data collection stuff. So if, for instance, when you go into a new crop, say from wheat to canola, you got to make sure that you're calibrating that yield sensor. Otherwise, the data that you're getting out of that is not really worth anything. So we're making sure that all of our producers are aware that data is becoming more and more important, and that if we're not collecting the correct type of data, we're not really doing ourselves a service. So we go over those types of things, as well as the settings, right? So, making sure that we have some opinions, or we give some advice towards what types of concaves work best in certain crop conditions. So we're all doing those types of things. With every customer, we're available for, a call if a guy just wants to discuss what his settings should be and what our experiences are. I think one of the things that we're most proud of is our annual harvest training that we do every year. And it's different than a lot of trainings that we go through. And by that, I mean, we're not sitting in a classroom. We're actually harvesting crop. This year we did about 600 acres of wheat and canola before most of our customers are in the field. So we get the opportunity to check out the new line of equipment. We get to make sure that we're familiar with that stuff before our customers have to jump in. And so we use all that information to hopefully give good advice to our customers when it comes to setting.
And just finally, Chad, going back to what you're saying about data collection, sure, our primary focus with the combine is to maximize the amount of grain going into the hopper, but at the same time, this day and age, we're also harvesting data, and that information is valuable.
Absolutely. Data is becoming more and more important. Every year, we're finding more and more customers are asking about, how do I store my data? How do I collect my data properly? And what do I do with that data? And I think that's kind of where we've been stalled out a little bit, is that we've been collecting data for quite a while. We've just never really known, where should I put that data? and where, what can I do with that data after I've put it somewhere and collected it. So that's one of the other things that we can do for you, is that we can help you interpret that data as long as it's collected properly, and we can help you with that. Again, we can help show you all the different things that you can use that data for.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Chad, and all the best with the rest of harvest season 2018.
Thank you very much.
That's Chad Moskal, manager of AOS for Rocky Mountain Equipment, and our guest for this week's edition of Rocky Talk. Of course, you can find out more info on combine optimization and harvest-related questions at your local Rocky Mountain Equipment dealer or at rockymtn.com. We're going to head south. The crop tour update with Chip Flory is coming up next.